welcome to the session. I'm Lourens Swart. I've got a business called Techanisms. We actually help businesses put processes and software in place. And just part of that journey, I use AI almost every day, basically every day, and in many different forms. And I see like a lot of people that I chat to just seem to yes, they hear AI is getting bigger, or they say they've heard of ChatGPT and things like that. But I think a lot of people don't know how to use it, or maybe just not exposed to it. And on the other end, there's customers like, I don't want that part of my business. And there's a whole range of people. So I just decided, just want to share the session. The idea is really a beginner session, so I'm going to try to not get too fancy here. I don't have idea really how the group is, so maybe if some of you can just take like a second. Do you use any AI tools in your business on a regular basis?
Yeah, I only use the AI that's already built in, that most of us don't realize is even built in. But I don't go out of my way to actually search for AI solutions for the business, but I'm very aware of how AI can really transform your daily operations. So especially like in the Airbnb space, I would love to be able to utilize a bit more AI.
Anyone else? So Christian, yes, please.
I just have a few GPTs that I've set up and that do some stuff for me, and then just the normal, like Julia said, the AI that we have, like Facebook's AI, Meta, Copilot, things like that, but nothing specific, and I should probably use more.
Anyone else? Oh, I go.
Lourens, I'm a graphic designer, so I use AI in Photoshop and a little bit in Illustrator. But I think I can use it for other things as well. So I think that's why I'm here.
Great. Oh, thanks for those inputs. Like I said, this is a bit of an intro session. I'm going to start just with assuming that the people's on here know it exists but haven't really used it. So I'm just going to start with a few basics. So this is my opinion on AI. I think it's almost like the internet was 30 or whatever years ago. Someone told me recently he was part of a printing company, and they said they'll never use internet. And then over time, other competitors started using email and internet to engage with businesses for printing in China, for example, and they just outcompete the company he was working for. And I think AI is similar. I think it's probably as big as the internet, or even maybe bigger over time. And I feel that it's a tool that if you start using it earlier, you'll just it's going to be easier to at least stay in line with it to some extent. I think as business owners, and that's the assumption most people hear, but it will work for other employees as well, what we discussed today. But having it part of your business, I believe, is going to help you set you apart from your competitors, even if it's the content you create. That's maybe one part, but then the second part is also just on the capacity you have. You start using AI just to save yourself time, you'll already have an advantage there. So even if it's just like small use cases, making it part of your daily work, I think will already just help you understand it better, so you don't jump in 3 years or 5 years and decide to learn it now. You just know a bit better what's going on. So today, I'm mostly going to talk about ChatGPT and show examples in ChatGPT for use cases. For those that is not aware, so ChatGPT is almost the big first mainstream one that came out. It's also a lot of the tools, not all of them, are built with ChatGPT in the background. So you might not know that you're using it, but a lot of the companies actually just put ChatGPT in the background and just implement it as part of their tool set. And it's almost the easiest one to start with. But there's many other tools. So yeah, I'm going to jump in. I've got a second screen here. So if I'm not looking at you guys, it's just because I'm on the second screen here. So first of all, just want to, okay, let me just check my screen, start sharing. So just the intro that we've covered. Just want to talk about prompting ChatGPT, some examples with image generation, Income Mavericks, which is our CRM, and then just some other resources and use cases. And at the end, if there's people that ask questions or just want to hang around and talk a bit, we can do that as well. So first of all, I'm going to start with prompting. I'll share this file, so don't worry about taking notes too much. The recording and the PDF will be shared for everyone. So in essence, prompting is the way you ask a question to AI. So I think it's Tony Robbins that said the quality of your question determines the quality of your life. And it's almost maybe not the quality of your life in this case, but the quality of the output you get or the content you create is determined by the quality of your question. And I'll show you some examples of good versus bad prompts. But this is just, I'm going to share this afterwards, like I said, but giving it some clear instructions on what you ask. So as an example, let's say I want to write a blog article about pet grooming. If I just say write an article about pet grooming, it will give you something, but that's going to be very generic. And like AI is, it just takes info from all over on the internet and trained with different sources. But if you just want to personalize it a bit, and I think that's where those business owners that I said, I don't want to use it in my business, I'm going to lose the touch with clients and things like that, is if you give a prompt like that. If you start asking it specific questions, so some examples is using a persona, so saying you're a marketing expert, for example, or someone that's a pet groomer themselves, giving clear instructions. So maybe say I want bullet points, I want actionable things, or with a pet grooming, something like DIY pet grooming at home. That's very different to just saying what it should, or pet grooming. Then sometimes to set boundaries, so just saying, for example, in the pet grooming again, pet grooming for long-haired dogs, of large breed dogs. Then also it helps to provide context. So what would you use it for? So this is a blog post, for example, on a website, or it's used for the pamphlet, or I want to make a booklet or a PDF or something like that. Then it knows how to word it differently. Then using step-by-step instructions, I'll show an example that I'm going to do. It's actually telling it what you want. Maybe you want the output in a table or points-wise, or telling it what you do. That's part of the specific formats as well. And then also specifying a tone or a style. So also, depending on just how you talk or the platform you're on, you're probably going to write different for something you want to put on TikTok versus something that's going on LinkedIn. So something like TikTok might be sarcastic or funny or something like that. And on the LinkedIn side, you might say you want something more professional, as an example. Then, so okay, I'll get back to that one. So I'm just going to show an example or two here. So I'm going to ChatGPT. Like I said, there's others as well. I like ChatGPT, but there's also similar type models from Google as Gemini, there's Claude AI, there's Perplexity, Facebook or Meta has their own versions, Llama, and there's a few others. But like I said, focusing on this today. So I think this is often why people don't use it. You open this up and you need to send a message, and it's like, what do I even do with this? So I'm going to show a few examples. So we've worked on I've mentioned the pet grooming one. Just quickly want to open something here so I don't have to retype everything and everyone waits for me. So it's just the program that I've got my prompts is just not responding now. So just give me a moment. So like I mentioned, a bad prompt might just be something like blog post about dog grooming. There's some spelling mistakes and things, but it does understand it. So overall, I'm not going to read the details now, but it does give a decent output here generally, but it's also often very generic. So that is where you'll go and put in more detail. So maybe this length is way too long for what you need. So that's maybe specifics on the length and things like that. So if you do want to be more specific, I can say, for example, as a professional pet care expert, write a blog with a limit on the words about pet grooming, include the benefits of regular grooming, at home grooming, and how to choose a groomer. Use a friendly and informative tone, and then you can, because I don't want to read through all of this now. But the point here is, if you go and play in your own industry or your own business, it would be useful to actually put the details in. So just for example, here on the length, this might be more in line with what you want. Just something, if someone has a question in between, you're more than welcome to just unmute yourself and ask, or if you've got suggestions or anything you want to test on your own business, you're welcome to do that as well. So something else that's often quite useful as well is communication. So this can be either a WhatsApp or an email, or basically any communication. It can be with clients. And often, let's say you've got a difficult client, for example, they're unhappy with your service. Often it feels like they take on you as a person. If it's your own business, this can really help you just to respond in a better way. So, or just, let's say, I've got this email here, just paste this. So basically it says, it's from a customer. She's a single mom and she's trying to keep up with expenses and wondering if there's any discounts or promotions that would make it more affordable for her. So maybe you don't really want to give a discount, but you don't just want to come off looking like mean or something. So I said here, as a professional customer service representative, generate a professional email apologizing to a customer for, so this is the wrong one. Let's type it out. So help respond to Sarah. We do not offer discounts. Okay. I know this is now not giving the good prompts that I said, but just as an example and just for the sake of time here. And let's say, hi Sarah, thank you for reaching out. I'm delighted to hear you're interested in our learning package. It's wonderful you believe it will be a valuable addition for your family. We understand that budgeting for educational resources can be a challenge, and we appreciate your commitment to providing quality tools and so forth. So actually quite decent. You can add a tone like being empathetic. And generally, what I also recommend is think this as the first draft. So I know someone told me recently, well, I can't send that to a customer, or I can't send that to my boss, for example. But also realizing this is often just a good first draft. So it's not, I don't recommend on most of these to just go copy paste and send it off. So even if it's ad, if it's blog posts, if it's communication with customers, any of these, I think it's still just prudent to review what you send, delete what you don't want them to send. And I'll often just go back and forth. So this email is maybe a short one, but I know ChatGPT likes opening an email with that, what I hope you're doing or not. What's that line? Anyway, it opens with a line that I never use in my emails. So I just always remove it or just tell it to not add that. Some other use cases that I use similar maybe to a difficult email is if someone writes a bad review. So maybe Julia with the Airbnb, that's maybe applicable as well. Obviously, you do want a response. And often with reviews, it's better to respond to all reviews, good or bad. If it's on Airbnb or maybe Google reviews or any other platform that your industry might be on, if people see you respond, they often say, okay, but this person has resolved it. And even some customers might go and edit their review and increase the rating. So this is just an example of a review. So a 1-star here. Someone commenting maybe on your business, I had a terrible experience with your service. The software is extremely difficult to use and customer support is unresponsive. Waited hours to figure out how to set up and didn't get help, very disappointed. So you can go, help me respond to this review. Now I can also say maybe offer a free to our consultation and 1 month free subscription as an example. So feedback here, won't read everything, but Julia, I see you raised your hand. You're welcome to unmute.
Thanks, Lourens. So, like when I respond to reviews, bad reviews or good reviews or whatever, I mean, obviously ChatGPT doesn't understand the nuances and complexities of the review. So in other words, the context behind it. So I usually, especially with like Airbnb, it's very important to your communication because you want to highlight the problem that they experienced and respond to it in a way that you would then be informing future customers. But in fact, the problem wasn't just sort of a straightforward bad service or whatever. There might have been a slight misunderstanding. So I guess you would use this response, but then you would possibly add in your own context as well.
Yes.
Just so that it's a bit more customized, because otherwise you're going to be, I don't know.
Yes, you don't want it too generic. So something like this, I'm keeping it a bit short just for the sake of time, but you're correct here. So you might say something, I'm just going to make something up here. So let's say add some details. So customer was contacted. Okay, so I see my mistakes there, but multiple times he was unresponsive.
Okay.
So actions not taken by customer to view, I don't know, onboarding videos, for example. Something like add this to the response without, I don't know, blaming the customer, for example. So you can go back and forth on this. And something I like doing as well is, this is an add-on that I have just for the voice transcription. But if you have the phone app as well, you can talk. And I like that, especially if it's more nuanced, to just give some background. I'll go and just talk through it, say this happened, they checked in, they checked in, time was 8 o'clock, they only pitched up at 11, they didn't let us know, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
It helps if you add that.
Great, thanks.
Let's see if I've added it. I see that we made multiple attempts to connect with you to offer assistance and provide onboarding resources, including setup videos, making it easy as possible. So maybe even on other clients, they can see that there's that support. We recognize that schedules are busy and it's possible that the initial information didn't align with the help you needed at the time. So it's much better than I get lighter, definitely, especially if you have a bad review and you're frustrated. So this is now just the email, blog post, a review response. But this can be to respond to WhatsApp, maybe content for the website or information for the brochure. It can be used to create scripts for video contents, perhaps. So this is just some examples of what it can do. Julia, also, and you'll just, for the context, especially if I want to write something more detailed, you can ask ChatGPT to ask you questions or to iterate back and forth with you as well. So something I like doing, especially if it's, you want to get that personal touch, not just like this generic AI output. So let's just I'll do something like, imagine you are a reporter, you are writing an article about, I don't know, personal finance. Ask me 10 questions about my journey for the article, just as an example. So now it will ask these questions and I'll respond to those questions. So like, what initially inspires you to take control of your finances? And if you answer these, and some of them often just skip, I don't feel it's part of what I want to maybe get out of that blog post, as an example, then it makes a much more personalized blog post compared to just write a blog post about personal finance, as an example. So now you bring in some personal storytelling and things in there as well. So the one part is the writing, but it also has some capability of data analysis. I see there's a question by Teresa, and also copy and paste the guest review into ChatGPT, picks up your tone as well and start generating responses accordingly. Yes, that is correct. And Bruce, I think you mentioned you set up some GPTs. I'll get to that later, but you can actually set up a GPT that you call it pre-trained or give some inputs on how you respond, but I'll show that. So something else is it can do some data analysis and things like that. So one part is the writing. Just going to upload here. I've got some financial statements. I just Googled for financial statement example. So this is, I don't know whose financials here. Where is it now? Sample financial statements. For what it's worth, if I do open it, Fair Work Commission Australia. So this is just some financials from them. And can, like, given the financial statements, help me understand our position better, give me 5 key insights that we can action in the next financial year. Focus on action steps and give some numbers. I know this is, again, can probably be more detailed depending on what your output would be. For example, I recently screened a tenant that applied. I put in their bank statements and credit checks and things, and I still did my checks, but it gave me a good starting point. So it says, check, there was a declined transaction on this date, for example. So normally, like some of the bank, I think those bank statements was 5 pages each, and all the other documents end up with 20 to 30 pages. Just gives a good starting point already. So let's say increase revenue from memberships. The membership revenue goes from this to this. Moderate increase. There's an action. Implement a targeted drive or upsell program to existing members. Aim for 10% increase. Could bring to this amount, adding that much revenue. So here's now 5 options. And often I'll go back and forth with this. So we'll say, I like suggestion 1, please expand more with examples on how we can. So I don't know the other people here, if they're solo business owners, I often like to use it as just for brainstorming even. So this is great to things like this. What can I do? How, it's like almost having a business coach to some extent, not exactly the same, but you know. So introduce premium tiers. Here's the actionables there. Offer bundle services. Launch a limited time upgrade. So some actionable stuff, actually just from something like relatively boring, like financial statements. Get some actionable inputs and yeah. Then example as well that I've recently used, just like a time-saving thing. So I had a client, we needed to add them to our software, all the users, and they sent images of their email signatures, but it was just images, so I couldn't just copy and paste it in. I just put everything in here, asked it to look at the data, and it gave me a CSV file, for example. So it's great, the attachments. It can take multiple files. It can take images, coding files. I'll get to images as well. Then something to mention maybe, I'm on the paid version, so all of it might not look the same on the free version, but there's some model options as well. So the GPT-4o is, call it for everyday tasks, but it also has Canvas and Preview. I'm not going to care too much about those for now. Let me just open the, let's say, dog grooming tips one. Now open it in Canvas. Okay. With Canvas, yes, Angelique, so it can do PDFs, it can do Excel spreadsheets, CSVs, images. I'm going to show some image stuff as well. So I've got some examples coming up, and I think you're doing graphic design that might help as well. And even I've asked it to help with layout ideas, for example, on the web page, what I'll put where and things like that. Even giving a screenshot. So let's just go as an example. If I go to my own website here, sometimes when I'm back and forth on things, let's just take, so I'll take a screenshot. So there's screenshot, go back here, and I just paste it. So did it now, not copy. There it is. So it's now uploading that image. For some reason it's not loading now. Just try again. I think it's because I'm on this canvas mode. It doesn't take images. So there's loading the screenshot. If it's finished uploading, I can send. So it'll actually go and read what's on there. Go even look at the layout. So add a clear call to action, visual emphasis on the benefits, make headings more actionable. Just as an example of uploading an image. What I wanted to show, just sort of back to the models here. So yeah, I've got sidetracked there. I'm just gonna, the point here is now not a good prompt, but let's say again, here's some examples. Light a recipe for the dessert. So this canvas allows you to edit sections. So what I've previously shown is almost going back and forth in a conversation. But what Canvas allows you to do, I don't know why it's not opening that section now. Normally it opens this on the side panel, and you can then edit sections. So reply there. So it actually just looks at this section. Say if I say make longer. So now it's going, this is what I mean. So it's going into the side panel here, and you can edit section by section. So rather than responding to like rewrite this email or the whole part, I can actually just say, for example, this part, and just ask ChatGPT, and we'll only edit this paragraph. Ask ChatGPT use other food as an example. So it talks there about panna cotta, and I only want to edit. I'm happy with the rest of the text. Then I can actually go, it only goes and rewrites just that section for me. So I don't have to rewrite everything. Also works well with coding. I want to show a coding example. And I know this is, the idea is not to be technical, but I just want to show what it can do. Maybe someone does use that. So I think with Christian, you being here with the mortgage applications, let's use that as an example. So help me build a online mortgage calculator. Inputs must be bond amount, deposit, purchase price, and interest rate is HTML, JavaScript, user modern design, base color, for example, if I want to add some color, this is just my own website color or brand color. User slider for the years, 1 to 30 years. Don't want to, can probably add some more there, but I think it's good for this example. So now it's actually going and writing the code for this.
Lourens, while this is thinking, I just wanted to ask you in terms of the professional versus free version, what can you do with the free version and what can you do with the professional version? Because I just Googled it and it says it can be $60 per month per user. Is this correct?
It's $20. I think the enterprise one is more expensive. So ChatGPT itself. I'm going to lie if I tell you all the differences. I know one of the biggest ones and primary reason why I changed is it limits you on the amount of conversations or inputs you can have. So I'm not sure on the free version, say it's like 10 every 3 hours or something like that. I think I've only on the paid version hit my limit now twice maybe, but that's if I'm busy with much bigger projects. There's also the GPTs part as well. And then also on it's actually something interesting to show as well. So on the mobile version, it also has advanced voice mode. So it's actually interesting what that can do. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm here just on the mobile version of it. I'm just you can actually talk to it and it's got, let's see if it works here. Hi, ChatGPT, please tell me the difference between the paid and free version of ChatGPT.
The paid version of ChatGPT, often referred to as ChatGPT Plus, offers several advantages over the free version. With ChatGPT Plus, you get general access even during peak times, which means less waiting. The Plus version also...
So that's actually useful. Like I said, I like some brainstorming stuff, but it's just almost interesting what it can do. I think the point of this is a bit to show. So the new version can actually change tone of voice and things like that. So I did this for my son the other day. So let's say, tell me the story of the 3 little pigs.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs.
Please make it very dramatic. Add some dramatic voices here.
In a land of shadows and light, the first little pig, with a voice.
So this is crazy what it can do. And that I was actually talking to it the other day, and someone came into the room and started talking Afrikaans to me, and it switched over the rest of the conversation to Afrikaans, and like even accents and things. It's interesting. This loaded now, just this mortgage calculator. So I'm just going to open it here. There's the mortgage calculator, purchase price. Let's take $1 million, deposit 100,000, bond amount that should be calculated. So things like this might be back and forth a bit. Monthly payment 10,000, more or less. I mean, to do this yourself, even if you know programming, I think it will likely take some time to set this up. But if you don't, if you can use natural language, you can get to this point, and often you'll get back and forth. So maybe you'll go back to that prompt and tell it to calculate the bond amount. It shouldn't be input. Maybe this font doesn't work against the background as an example, or things like that. But it's just interesting what it can do. Then I'm going to mention it. I'm not going to show it now, but also I think this ties in. I don't think it's available on the free version, Julia, but O1 Preview gives long outputs. So normally you could see if I type something in, the response is almost immediate. The preview thinks back and it argues almost with itself before responding. And this is very useful for more technical work, maybe longer business plans, or maybe you've got an idea for a course to create or something like that. The other day, I actually asked it to help me write the email sequence for the client and create the email subject as well as a prompt to write the rest of the email. And we needed it every week for 2 years. And in one output, it gave a very good response with 104 email topics, as an example. Just going to the GPTs. So I believe this is also something that's not on the free version, but the GPTs is basically someone has trained it, or it's got another source of information that helps it to respond. So it's something for specific outputs, or yeah. So as an example, I use Captain Hook every now and then. It's actually creating marketing hooks. So let's go back to the pet grooming, or maybe Julia, I'll take you as an example again. Help me write a title for. So these GPTs now put prompts to show you guys, give this tone of voice, this is the output style, this is the length, this is all the parameters. A GPT effectively has that in the background. So you don't have to go and retype that every single time. You can give a much shorter example. So this one, for example, always gives 10 outputs. It's always just a sentence long. So oceanfront escape with sunrise views on the Atlantic coast, seaside serenity. And now if you give some inputs again, it helps. If you go and explore the GPTs, there's a lot of them. So depending on your own use case, you'll use different ones. Something that I like to use as well is Whimsical. So it's just, they have diagrams. So if I start this chat, so now it will use Whimsical in the background, and let's say give me a flowchart for welcoming guests into an Airbnb. Again, better details would be better here, just for the sake of the example, to save time here. So now it's actually using Whimsical and their own programming things to give a different output here. So an example, booking is confirmed, send a welcome message, say check-in instructions, pre-arrival, and so forth. So here you can again go back and forth, give better inputs. And then also on the GPTs, not going to show how to do that in this session, but I can create that as well. So if I know I write in a certain style, I've got maybe certain FAQ documents or tone of voice or whatever else, even give it some of my own emails, say, look at this, and then respond. Then you don't have to type those details. So then you can almost just copy and paste and respond to this email. Here's the email. And you don't have to write everything over and over again. Then ChatGPT can also generate images. Anyone that's got a request for something to generate, make it interesting.
Lourens, so
Yes.
I was going to do a trip from Cape Town to Johannesburg, and then from Johannesburg straight up to Tofu in Mozambique. So
Okay.
I wanted to create a little map, a visual map to put on Facebook or something showing the distances. When I asked ChatGPT to please make this map for me, and I got a terribly scrambled, illogical, facts incorrect map, it didn't work at all. So I didn't prompt it correctly.
It's better than newer versions, but it's not great with adding text and words as such. I think likely with Angelique, like she's mentioned, using it in Illustrator and Photoshop, probably much better. Let's see what it comes up with. Let's say not a map, but just like a cover image that's engaging for the road trip. So let's say generate the image for Facebook post for the road trip. Get down to surfing. And then almost similar to emails that you give context and inputs. You can say, for example, I need a square post, or use 5 different colors, for example. Okay, so now I specifically generate the image, so it knows that's what it needs to do. So it doesn't give a text response here. Okay, so like you said, it's mountains and things now, but you can see it's a bit of the palm trees here on the Mozambique side, and even some of that Portuguese architecture here add some things. I won't add Facebook, for example, at the bottom. Something they added earlier this year is you can select a section. So I can go and paint over this and say, let's say, remove Facebook. So rather than redoing the whole image, it will just go look at your selection and just update that. Busy generating that. So the one side is generating images, but what I'll also show after this has been generated is that Facebook is now removed there. So it can also read images. I've shown just the example with my website, but the other day I was at a art gallery and I spoke to the owner, and he mentioned that he wants to put some of the artwork online, but writing all the descriptions for the artwork is very time consuming. You can't just give it to anybody. I asked him, he said it'll probably take like he can do probably 10 descriptions per day for the artwork. Let me just open this. So this is one of them, a PDF painting that he had. Just save. So I'll upload it here now. So I actually opened it. I opened it on my phone because you can actually use the camera app on your phone, and asked him to just give a small description. So this is the image we worked with. It's a PDF, and like he says, giving like a proper description does take time, and you do need some experience with it as well. So let's give something short here. I write a description of this PDF painting to use in a exhibition brochure. And I say evoke some emotion. So I know I'm showing artwork, but again, thinking how you can use it in your business. Maybe you've got an online store, maybe you've got a service that you're offering as well. So it can be image, but you can also have a verbal input. But also, like I said, with if you've got products you're selling, or maybe Peter, you're selling the furniture as an example, you do have the background and the knowledge to know who was the designer and things like that. But also just writing in a more engaging way might help. So you can still go and tell it, this is a piece of furniture from 1950 by this designer, and some background, but it can just color it in a bit as well. So like this one, I'm just going to read a part. In this captivating landscape by Jacobus Pielneef, the African veld is bathed in surreal golden light. So again, you can decide, okay, this is maybe a bit too emotional, maybe, just edit it from there. And something that I've done recently that was also useful is most of my notes I make on the computer, but I do have my notebook with me as well. But sometimes I just want to capture those notes. I don't have the best handwriting, and I just tried it out. So this is my notes for today. Like I said, I write small, and this is okay, but I'll go and just ask ChatGPT to summarize my notes here. It actually can do the image recognition. It's adding some stuff here as well, but it's quite useful. So as you start playing with it, you'll start to learn, okay, it can do this. I wonder if it can also do this, or you've seen it save sometimes somewhere and use it in other places as well. Now we're almost out of time, so I'm just going to show one last thing. So now focus on ChatGPT. Just want to show inside of Income Mavericks. This is our CRM, and we've got ChatGPT built into the background, so you can build websites in here, for example, and you can generate images and the wording for your website. Or can send email campaigns, and the email campaigns, you can write the wording for the emails. We've got a chatbot that can respond to customers, and like the GPTs that I said, you can put the prompts in the background. I can go tell it, this is my website, go read everything, and then it's trained on your website and it can respond to customer questions, for example. Only thing I wanted to show from this today is the chatbot that we have can also help book appointments. So I've got a calendar that's connected to this. So this demo now is just as an example from a customer side. So can I please book an appointment? So now, sure thing, when are you looking to book? Let's say next week, Monday. Got it here, some time slots that's available, 8, 8:15. These was set up for certain slots. So I can just as well have at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Let's say 9 a.m. can work. The appointment is confirmed. See you then. So see now on my own notification panel here, I can see appointment confirmed now. So just example of another use case in business and also asking questions and things like that.
Thanks, Lourens. I just want to ask you with the appointments and stuff. So I battled with that, and now I'm using my Android phone's, what's it called?
Yes.
Brixby's not all that great, but it does connect to my Google Calendar, which is what I wanted to do. And this can ChatGPT connect to my Google Calendar?
So specifically in the CRM, it's connected to my Google Calendar. So it checks my availability, and if there's already something booked there, it does not show those available time slots. So it only shows available time slots.
I'll have to just look into that from my side.
I'll also add into it that you can then stipulate specific meeting requirements. Like Lourens, you've got a great example of your calendar where certain days are in person at certain venues and other days are only online. So you can stipulate that, and accordingly the meeting setup works out.
So on the back end, this has access not to the specific calendar, but in principle, a calendar like this. So this would be if I send a link to a customer, for example, they'll have this example. So I can see now for tomorrow, the only slots available is 11, 11:30, 2:30. So those are only slots that will be shown as available.
Yeah, so what I'm going to try and do is set up a CRM for myself so that it can plug everything into one sort of, one system basically covers everything.
Yes, I know it's basically time here to end, but I had made some extra time available if anyone wants to stay or maybe ask some questions or even ask, will this work for me or something like that, any specific questions, even outside of ChatGPT, maybe I can help there as well. In the PDF that I will send out at the bottom, I've also added a few items that I use regularly as well. So just some examples, there's platforms that's specifically for content generation. So I can go and ask ChatGPT to, what can I use for this content? But I also use it, like some of the platforms can do posts in bulk for social media. There's, for example, Loom that I use for screen recordings. All of these are in that with links as well. But it actually takes the transcript, and I can search the transcript. It can make SOPs from videos, for example. So you can talk through it and it takes the transcript. Then, there's a few tools that I'll share as well. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.